Hi guys, welcome to TV DIY. I'm Vesna. I'm so glad you guys stopped by today. Today I am creating 4 different easy spring themed DIYs, but you can kind of adjust them to any decor that you want. So to start, I am using this arch window type thing from the Dollar Tree. It had live, laugh, love, or live, love, laugh, which is okay, but I didn't want it for this. So I'm just scratching it off using one of these little scrapers that I have from the Dollar Tree. So I just scrape it off. I was thinking about putting some rubbing alcohol to make it a little bit more distressed, but then after I rubbed it off, I was okay with the way it looked. And so here it is all rubbed off. It looks a little bit scratched on the angle here, but you can't tell when you don't have, a big flash on it, as you'll see from the picture. And then I'm just adding this little kind of garland that I picked up from Dollarama. And it just looks kind of like some greenery, and I love to use it for spring. So I'm making a little wreath to hang off of this, and that's all there is to this DIY. So I just wrap it around a few times to make a wreath, and then it has a little wire, so I just attach the wire at the back and then I hot glue it. And super easy, inexpensive, cost me all of, well, $1.50 for the arch window thing and $1.25 or $1.50 for the garland. So very inexpensive, and it's nice as a part of a vignette in a tray or kind of in a corner, wherever you'd want to put it, or even if you wanted to hang it up somewhere, it would be a really cute little addition. Now, today's episode is a part of a challenge that I'm doing together with Ellie from House to Home, my sister Sonia from Domestic Diva DIY, and Marika from Marika Creations. So be sure to check out all of these ladies. I'll link the playlist in the description below. And so once I've hot glued the wreath to the back there, that's all there is to it, and here's what it looks like all finished. So for the next quick and easy DIY, I am doing a sea glass effect on this jar. So the jar is from peaches from Costco that we buy. So I have tons of these jars, and I love that they're a little bit square shaped. So they're just not, they don't look like your typical jar. So I really like them, and the sticker comes off really easily. So I'm making my own kind of sea foam effect paint. Sorry, sea glass, not sea foam. So what I've done is I've put some white glue in there, added a little bit of food coloring and a little bit of water. You just want to get it a little bit runny, not too runny, because if you get it too runny, then you'll have to apply several coats. So just kind of, you'll see I'll lift up my brush, how thick it is. And really, I put a little bit more glue than I needed because I would rather have more than less. So I can't tell you how much I put. I probably put kind of like a finger amount to the bottom of the cup, but you kind of estimate how much you think you'll need. And then the water, I would say, maybe like a teaspoon of water for that amount. But again, play around with it, see what works best for you. And then I just mixed it all together. I have seen people do this with Mod Podge, but I didn't have a flat one. Sorry, I didn't have a glossy one. I had a flat, like a matte Mod Podge. So I didn't want to use that on here just because it wouldn't give me the effect that I wanted. So you can see I'm just adding water little bits here and there, and then just so I can get the right consistency. Now my glue was a little bit thick, so I should have kind of shook it a bit before I poured it in there, but that's okay. So I just wanted to show you kind of the consistency. So see, it still kind of like drips at the bottom, so it just gives you an idea of what it's supposed to look like. Again, play around with it. If you put it on too thick, it's not like if you have it too thick, when it dries, it's going to be a little bit cakey. So it's like a fine balance. I did wind up adding a little bit more water, and then I added too much, so I just kind of left it, but you can see it kind of drips down there. And then you just apply it, just a really nice thin coat. This was my first time doing it, so I was playing around with it a bit. But you just apply a nice thin coat, and what I'm doing there is I'm just brushing off. I found some of my hair in the in the paint, so I was brushing it off because it was kind of moving around on the paint. And then you just apply this, and I got this idea from another YouTube channel. She bought a mason jar from the Dollar Tree that was already tinted. And I'm trying to avoid the Dollar Tree right now because I have so many craft supplies. I had moved my craft room to a smaller space because I wanted to set up an exercise room. And so my old craft room, which was nice and big, is now an exercise room, but I kept the closet, and that closet is still full of craft supplies. I have craft supplies everywhere, and I have so many of them, and I'm just not going through them. I've reduced how many videos I'm doing. It's too busy with two small kids, a full-time job, and kids and activities. It's really hard to get time in to make DIYs, although it's great self-care. I'm working on it, but so I've kind of reduced it to one video a month to try and make better quality videos and not feel rushed when I'm doing them, and then really enjoy making these crafts and not just try pumping them out. I I would like to start selling them at some point, but I don't, so I keep a lot of the stuff or I give it away if I can. I almost get a little bit shy to give away some things. I'm afraid, oh, well, what if they break or whatever, but this is just kind of in my head the way I am. But anyway, so I'm trying to work through getting rid of some stuff, and since I keep these jars anyway, my idea is to replace all of my spices and stuff and put them in these jars and like in my kitchen, just because we apparently we go through a lot of these peaches from Costco. So um it would be it would look nicer if it was all in these containers, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So I use them for crafting because it's free. They look great, and I can kind of get creative. And if I mess one up from painting or whatever, you don't feel as bad because you haven't paid for it. So anyway, a lot of blabbering for me. You paint this on, and then I am adding some jute rope around the neck of the jar. And I think this is the part where I burn myself quite badly because I don't know if it was this part or the next part, but at one point I burned my finger really badly, and then I have to stop crafting for a little bit and try to take care of that finger. But I wrapped the jute rope around 3 times just to cover that lip where the lid would go, so it's those ridges. So just to cover that, and then I kind of make a little handle out of the jute rope as well. And then I'm going to put one of these solar lights, and again, I do have these solar lights brand new somewhere, but I can't find them because, as I told you, I moved my craft room around and I'm still not able to find things. Even though I tried to keep the organization the same, I moved things and I can't find them. So I used an older one that I had already, and because the opening of the jar is so big, I had to add something to hold the lantern in place, the solar lamp. So I'm adding these beads, which are also from the Dollar Tree, and I will glue them into a circle so that way I can put them in the jar and glue them on top of the jar and put that lantern in, and it'll be a cute little lantern that you can put out on your balcony or on your front porch or whatever, if you have on your deck, and a nice little decor piece and a nice spring color which can transition into summer as well. The next DIY that I'm doing is with some lavender from my garden that I had kind of pressed to flatten out a bit. It didn't dry completely, and it's funny enough, it lasted all winter, which my other lavender didn't, but this one did. And so I had pressed it a couple days ago, and it's not fully dry, but that's okay. It smells wonderful still. So I am putting it into one of these Dollar Tree frames, and I have this, I think it's adhesive, I don't know, like tile or whatever, some sort of adhesive paper that I picked up also at Dollarama. And I am putting it on the back of the frame, and then I'll be putting this in. Now, because the plants are a little bit higher, you'll have to kind of fudge around with the backing depending on how long your little clips are to hold it in. Mine were pretty short, and I'm assuming if you get the same frame, they're all the same length. So what I'm going to wind up doing is taking well, these are garden picks, but you could do it with any kind of scrap piece of wood. And I wind up hot gluing it to the back just to hold the frame in place a little bit. I did try to hot glue the little metal clasps, but I wound up breaking them off. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Now, I did see a version of this on another YouTuber's channel where they used two of these frames and they just used the glass as the back. So they took apart the frames and then they took the glass from the second frame and pressed the flower in between the glass to hold the flower there, and then that was the back, and then they just glued a little bit at the back to make it into a frame. I didn't have another frame like this. I just had this one. I'm sure I have another one somewhere that I've used in a different DIY, which I could have reused, but I thought having that backing would look really nice. And it gives that, to me, it gives that neutral spring kind of color. So as you can see here, I'm fudging around with trying to stick it on somehow with the hot glue, but it wasn't working. So that's where I added a garden pick for that. Again, all of these are super easy, so you can do them really quickly, really inexpensively, and they're just nice little touches of spring. And even if you just wanted to use them for one season and then donate them or whatever, it's not like you've spent, 30, 40, 50, $60 on any of these, or even 10 bucks, whatever. You haven't spent lots, or it's something that you've had around, and you can donate it, and then you don't feel like it was a waste because you've used them and now someone else can love them again. So anyway, after I've done that, that's all there is to it, and here is the finished product. And it's really cute because you could use it with any kind of spring flowers or any kind of flowers that you want, or you can buy them, press them by yourself, whatever you want, but it's a great little versatile project. And for the final project, I'm using a page from one of the calendars from the Dollar Tree and a frame from the Dollar Tree. And this is the easiest DIY. It's kind of even funny to call it a DIY because all I'm doing is I've taken the page out and I'm putting it in this frame, and it makes, again, a nice little, especially if you're doing like a little tray for your table or something like that, or like a hallway table, you can make a nice little vignette. So I'm just adding that in there. Once I actually put the picture into the frame and close it up, I realize I don't like the color. On the video, it doesn't look as bluish gray as it is. So it looks a little bit better on the video, but in real life I didn't like the way it looked. So I do wind up taking the frame, everything out, and spray painting the frame off camera because you don't need to watch me spray paint. There's plenty of videos where I spray paint. If you want to watch them, go back and have a peek, especially some of my first videos. But anyway, so that's what happens sometimes when you're doing these projects. You kind of have an idea, and then when you put it together, you don't like it, so you kind of adjust. And this is a great little idea if you wanted to reuse your calendar that you're not using from last year and you really like the pictures. This is a great way to reuse them. So thank you so much for dropping by. Make sure you check out everybody's channel and leave us a comment, leave me a comment, hit that like button, subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. Remember, I post monthly as of now, and I do anything from house renovation kind of DIY things to home decor DIYs. So if that's your jam, make sure you check out, oh, and I do furniture flips too. I love doing that as well. So if that's your thing, make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell so you get notified when I post new videos. Thanks, and have a great day and stay safe.